All right, welcome back. We have the new year now, and going through this study here on what it means to be a Christian man. And we go back to Genesis chapter 2, where we began in the last video, just looking at the different characteristics that are uniquely male. And I have to give that with a caveat, because all of this mandate given to humans is given to both male and female. And so women are capable and often have some of these same characteristics as men, but I'm arguing that men have a greater capacity for these things, which first was dominance. Man is given domination, or dominion, what should I say, dominion over the earth. And so I won't recap that. You can go back and listen to that one. The next characteristic I want to look at is industriousness. In Genesis 2:15, the Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it. The word work is what I want to get at right here. Yes, women are industrious. Women work. I'm not saying they're not. But I'm talking to men, and I'm saying, men, you need to take dominion over the realm of influence that you've been given, and you need to work and be industrious in it. One advocate for feminist masculinity says this: there is no one way to be a man. Masculinity, like humanness, is often wide enough to include many different expressions of manhood. Some men can be a breadwinner, and some men can be a stay-at-home dad with the kids. End of quote. This is absolutely an arbitrary definition that is more informed by gender-neutral androgyny than it is by scripture or thousands of years of human history. Being a breadwinner falls under the category that is a unique role of men in the family and society. To say that a man can be masculine and be a stay-at-home dad is a reversal of roles, and it's not a biblical idea. It is not masculine. Did not God also give women talents, interests, and desires that are equally valid so that women can also work and be industrious? We see the ideal woman presented to us in Proverbs 31 as an industrious and business-savvy woman. However, she is this way in the context of her household, where she has willingly and gladly submitted to her husband's headship and has assumed the role of helper. So later I'd like to address a whole video on the Proverbs 31 excellent wife. But even in this context, we will later see that her industriousness is in relation to supporting her husband and enhancing his prominence in the gates, where he sits among the elders or the authorities of the land. And for the sake of order, I'm beginning at the beginning. The word here for work in Hebrew is the word avad, which means to serve, labor, or cultivate. When Adam was placed in the garden, he was charged with the duty to work or to cultivate the garden so that it would be fruitful in production. Men are created for work. They are created to be producers, providers, creators, and builders. This word is used of Cain, who was a tiller of the ground, or a worker, laborer, server of the ground, in Genesis 4:2. The word is often used in reference to service as a slave who serves a master, or as a conquered people in a kingdom who serves those who conquered them. And this is to say that God made man to be his servant and to do his bidding. And God created the earth with almost infinite potential that can only be realized if man were to serve God in an industrious, cultivating work to mature the earth into civilizations, create inventions and products from the raw materials at the beginning. The 17th century theologian Matthew Henry commented and said, God put Adam in the Garden of Eden, not to live there as he might want, but to be under government. As we are not allowed to be idle in this world and do nothing, so we are not allowed to be willful to do what we please. When God had given man a dominion over the creatures, he would let him know that still he himself was under the government of his creator. So there's little else that is less masculine or respectable of men than to be a lazy man who will not work, cultivate, build, beautify, repair, order, refine, educate, manufacture, design, all the different ways that you can work. I mentioned before being like a stay-at-home dad. That is work. You have to cultivate. You have to teach. You have to build up your children. But the Bible has very clearly told us, and we'll get to this later, that the woman is to be a keeper at home. She is to be the one who does that work at home, taking care of the children, and that is just what the Bible teaches. And we'll get into that later. So even though that is work and that is cultivating and it is something that's great, it's not primarily the man's job to do that. When two men meet for the first time, what is one of the questions they ask each other primarily? So, what do you do? We do this in regards to our work because our work defines a lot of our life. Very rarely do you hear a man say, "Oh, I'm a father, I'm a husband." Most of the time, they'll be talking about their vocations and not so much their relationships. And this is how men differ from women. And this is quite natural because we are made for work. God has gifted us in many different ways and given us unique interests and desires and passions by which to set our hands to the plow. And so all work that contributes to human flourishing and glorifies God is sacred work. And so the teacher, the musician, the designer, the organizer, and manufacturer, the farmer, the grocer, the educator, the servant, the engineer, the repairman, the inventor, the tradesman, the salesman, all work in a way that can glorify God and do good for man, and that is respectable work. However, just because all work is equally sacred and honorable does not make all work equally valuable or useful. The monetary and social status rewards that come with the skills and abilities to produce goods and services that benefit the creature or the created order, those will be varied. And in Exodus 37, we see an example of this. It must have been a great privilege and a great public honor to have been chosen to be a goldsmith, a wood craftsman, the engraver or the architect among the people of Israel, who were chosen by King Saul, who chose the most skilled musicians, or King Solomon, who had chosen the most cunning of craftsmen to build his temple. So with skill and success in industry and the social approval that follows, also comes the attraction and the attention, guess what, of women. With the attention of women comes a compound effect of more attention and more women, and thus more options in spousal selection. And this aspect of masculinity I'll talk about later and explore later in the following videos that we make. And how do we navigate this benefit and hazard in relation to marriage? So that is the second characteristic I want to talk about, is industriousness of men. Work is what God made us to do. If we are not working in some way, whatever capacity that is, it is not masculine. It's actually sin. It's actually sinful. He made us to work. So to escape work, trying to get to a place where I don't ever have to work again, is not a godly ambition. Now, getting to a place where you don't have to do manual labor anymore, so that now you can actually do other kinds of labor that compound benefits for people, that's fine. But just to get to the place where I don't have to work anymore, I can spend the rest of my life on a beach drinking Mai Tais, that's not godly ambition. So, men, get to work. Find something that God has put a desire for you to do or has given you a talent to do. has given you just kind of a natural inclination, and figure out how to make something of that and of yourself in that way. So I'll go ahead and end it here. That's just the first one, or that's the second. That's the second characteristic we'll look at here in Genesis 2, and then we'll look at the next one in the next video. All right, see ya.